Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Eastland Mall for the final episode in the WJBC Eastland Mall Mystery Minutes. I'm Don Munson, and this extremely short fellow is my sidekick, Alan Sender. And save your applause, because we have some people who really deserve it here coming up, because not only did they perform this series of shows on WJBC and wrote it themselves, blocked it out, provided all the sound effects, but they're going to do the same thing here for the final episode tonight. Not only that, but we're all involved in a rather noble experiment here tonight, because all of this is going to be broadcast on WJBC. Not live, because it's World Series time down in St. Louis, but right after the ball game tonight, all of this is going to be broadcast.
They're playing World Series in St. Louis?
There is a World Series in St. Louis tonight, yes. So I know that you all are fellow Cub fans of Allen's, or you wouldn't be here tonight. Cardinal fans are in front of the TV set or their radios. We are going to all find out together who murdered Professor Moberly Klenner tonight, whether it was Brian or Lane or Professor Riggins or Elaine or Fannie Mae the cleaning lady or the man with the crazy eyes. They're all suspects. Those of you who have entered the contest have entered your deduction as to who committed the crime, and immediately following our taping of the program, we'll hold a drawing from among all of those who were correct for some great prizes tonight. We really have a list of prizes. So I think we should do it. Here we have the people on the set. We have our announcer, Alan Sender, who will be the first voice that our WJBC listeners hear after the Cardinal game tonight. We hope you're all listening for that. And we hope you enjoy Episode 7 of Fatal Analysis. Is the tape recorder rolling? Okay, 10 seconds till airtime. 5 seconds till airtime. Enjoy the show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Alan Sender with a welcome to Bloomington's Eastland Mall and the final installment of the WJBC Eastland Mystery Minutes. Tonight, written by Carol E. Gray and Karen Spiegler, it's part 6 of Fatal Analysis, starring from the Conklin Players, Carol E. Gray, Tom Weber, Nick Ferrantello, Karen Spiegler, Maury Douglas, and Jim Stout, plus WJBC's own Ken Behrens. And now, the final episode of Fatal Analysis.
Here
we are at Eastland Mall. You're about to see the exciting conclusion of our Super Sleuth Murder Mystery Contest. At the end of our mystery, our grand prize will be awarded. But first, let me bring you up to date. Brian and Lane have been competing for a psychology teaching fellowship at Park Lane College. Their papers have been read, and Professor Klenner needs to make the choice by tomorrow. Lane is in love with Elaine, but she's engaged to Brian. Professor Riggins is an associate professor under Professor Klenner, and the cleaning lady claims she's seen a weirdo lurking outside the building. After the class, Lane discovered Klenner's murdered body upstairs in his office. We now take you to Klenner's office, where all the suspects are gathered on this stormy night. Now, Miss Martin, your alibi is that you were in the seminar room downstairs when Professor Klenner was killed?
Yes, Fanny was there cleaning up after the class. Lane had gone upstairs to tell the professor about the man Fanny had seen by the window, and Brian had gone to take a look at the man since Fanny seemed so disturbed about him. Then Professor Riggins came in and saw Fanny and myself in the room, just before Lane found Professor Klenner.
Where were you just before you came down to the seminar room, Professor Riggins?
In my office. Klenner had asked me to stay a while and have a little discussion with the boys about the papers they had read.
Where is your office?
Right down the hall here, next to this one.
I see.
You don't see anything. If you think I killed Klenner simply because my office is next
I didn't
to his...
say I was thinking anything of the kind, Professor. But now that you mention it, it's an interesting idea. Now, Mr. Bryant, you say you knocked on Klenner's door and...
There was no answer. I thought that was funny because he had distinctly said he was going up to his office. I tried the door and it opened. Then I saw him at the desk right over there. At first I thought he was asleep till I saw the paper knife in his back and the blood dripping down.
You can spare us the gory details. You didn't meet anyone on your way up.
No, sir.
Professor Riggins, for instance?
He said no, didn't he?
You seem pretty nervous, Professor. Take it easy. How about you, Dalton?
I was going to the front door. Nobody was there. I stood looking out of the window for a while. Then I heard Lane shouting. I ran up here. That's all I know.
You there. You sure nobody was in the building?
I checked everybody on my list, Detective. I'm always careful about this here building. Nobody was in here except me and that man with them eyes.
Jack, I found him.
That's him. That's the man with the eyes.
I found him down in the cellar. He seemed to be trying to get out, like he was lost and couldn't find his way out.
Okay. Let go of him. I want to talk to him. What are you doing in this building? Didn't you hear me?
He won't talk. He wouldn't say a word.
May I make a suggestion, Detective?
I told you to stay in the rear of the class.
I happen to be a professor of psychology. This man is obviously a psychopathic case. I might do a better job of getting him to talk.
Okay, step forward and try your charms on him.
You wanted to see Professor Klenner.
Yes, Professor Klenner.
Did you see him?
No, they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me.
How did you get into the building?
I came from a long way to see him. He sent me away. He told the judge I was crazy.
Sounds to me like he belongs in Dr. Miles' nut house.
Well, Detective, it's open and shut. Here's a man with motive, opportunity, a grudge against Klenner, and a dementia praecox case if I ever saw one. Just the type who'd brood and murder a man as easily as you'd light a cigarette.
Maybe so. You, Mr. Dalton.
Yes?
You wouldn't have any reason to kill Professor Klenner, would you?
Certainly not. Why should Brian want to?
Got some sort of bee in your bonnet about perfect crimes, haven't you?
I just wrote a paper about it, yes. But do you think a man like Klenner? Well, he was like a father to me.
One of the points you made in your paper, Brian, you said it was precisely in such a situation that the perfect crime was possible. It throws everybody off the track. Because there's no reason why you should do it. You'd be in the perfect position to get away with it.
Don't be a fool, Lane.
Well, it's the main point he made in his paper.
Okay, skip it.
I don't think you ought to skip it. I think Brian ought to do some explaining.
If it comes to that, Lane, you've got some explaining to do yourself. Brian was on the ground floor. You were upstairs. And you had plenty of reason to want Klenner out of the way.
Why?
He wanted the fellowship that everybody knew Brian was going to get. Professor Riggins would have given it to Lane.
But why?
Because Lane's father, Roland Bryant, is a trustee, and Riggins has wanted to be head of the department now for years.
Well, this gets more and more interesting. Now, let's see, Mr. Bryant. If Klenner was out of the picture, Riggins would be the big shot, and you'd get what you wanted.
And there's another thing.
Lay it on the table, sister.
I'm engaged to marry Brian, Mr. Dalton. We wouldn't be able to without the fellowship, and that wouldn't displease Lane one bit.
Yeah, I get it. I never saw one of these things yet without an eternal triangle somewhere in it.
I found Professor Klenner dead when I opened the door. I'm not denying that it might be a break for me if he were out of the way, but I didn't do it.
Still, you had your reasons, and you could have.
But I didn't.
That, together with a lot of other things, remains to be seen. Now, Professor Riggins, just how much did you want to be head of this department?
Well, to be perfectly frank, very much. But not enough to kill for it. Goodness, we're civilized human beings. As a matter of fact, I understood that Klenner was planning to leave in a year or two. So what?
Okay.
I demand you have this insane man arrested at once and let the rest of us go. We're not murderers, and he is. Any psychologist in the world would tell you he's the violent dementia praecox type.
I didn't kill anyone. I wanted to kill Professor Klenner. The voices told me to kill him. I have a gun to kill him. Where is he?
Hey, Okay, I got it. Here it is, Jack.
A Woolworth's 5 and 10 cent toy.
Please remember that Klenner wasn't shot. He was stabbed. This man has just clearly shown he had the intent to kill him.
Maybe, but I still got a few questions to ask.
This is absurd.
I'm not saying he didn't do it. I just want to ask a few more questions. You, Bryant.
Me? Why don't you ask Riggins instead? Why don't you ask him how badly he really wanted that job?
Why, you young...
Detective, you might be interested to know that Professor Riggins got married recently, and his wife has expensive tastes. As head of the department, he'd be getting more money than he's getting now.
Detective, I didn't want to say this, but since Lane seems to be making a deliberate effort to throw suspicion on me, I'll tell you that yesterday afternoon he was in my office saying that before he'd see Brian get the fellowship and marry Elaine, he'd kill Klenner and anybody else he had to.
That's a lie. I never said that.
My own opinion is that Lane is the murderer. I've been insisting that you arrest this man because, I admit it, for the sake of his father, who is an old friend, I've been trying to protect the boy. But he had every reason to do it, and he's just the hot-tempered type who...
Riggins, you did it. I'm saying you did it. That's why you're trying to put the finger on me. Now, I'll tell some truth. I saw him do it. When I opened Klenner's door, I saw...
You're a liar, Lane!
Why didn't you tell us this before?
We've been friends. I didn't want...
You're lying. You've spilled it a long time ago. If you'd seen it, don't get any crazy ideas like that.
Jack,
Yeah?
I'd like to try something. I think I've got a way of finding out quickly, too, who really did it.
What's your bright idea, Penny?
I want to try an association test. I dabble in psychology a bit myself.
What's an association test?
Well, you take a list of words to which normally there's a pretty standard response. With a stopwatch, you keep track of how long it takes for the subject to make the association. If there's much deviation from what's expected, it indicates...
Yeah, I heard of that stuff.
Come on, we're the specialists in psychology.
What do you mean, you're specialists?
I mean, we specialize in certain fields of psychology, like, I do statistics. Brian there does perfect crimes. Professor Riggins does hypnotism.
Hypnotism?
Yes, he's one of the outstanding authorities in the field.
Looks to me like the whole bunch of you are hypnotized.
Let me try the test.
Okay, but make it snappy.
Yeah, it won't work. What's the good of fooling around? Klenner's dead and we sit here acting like fools.
Just what is your objection to trying this, Mr. Dalton? What are you suddenly getting so hot under the collar about?
You're not afraid of an association test, Brian, are you?
Well, why should I be afraid?
They are very effective things, you know. And the harder you try to outsmart them, the more likely you are to give yourself away.
It's just a waste of time, that's all.
Well, if you don't mind, Mr. Dalton, I'd like to waste some time that way. And what's more, I'd like to see you take the test first.
No, I want to show you how this really works first. Let's try it on Fanny first. If you'll send the others out of the room.
All right. Come on.
You stay, Fanny.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Fanny, I'm going to say a word at you, and I want you to say the first word that pops into your head. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right, black.
What's the first word I think of when you say black?
That's right.
Blackboard.
All right. The next word is lake.
Fish.
Moon.
Shine.
Hand.
Out.
Knife.
Cut.
Book.
The Bible.
Table.
Chair.
Kill.
I didn't do it, Detective. I didn't do it.
All right. That's the general idea. Now, who do you want to try?
Mr. Dalton? Just tell her what the words make you think of. Shoot, Penny. You sit down, Fanny, and don't say a word.
All right, black.
I think this is
Black.
white,
Moon.
stars,
Lake.
water.
Knife.
I'm afraid I'm blank on that one. I mean, no word popped right into my head.
So I see.
All right, book.
Study,
Table.
chair,
Kill.
ghost,
Candle.
light.
Klenner.
Oh, stop it. This is crazy and senseless.
Well, I don't know, Mr. Dalton. It's getting to make a lot of sense to me. That's enough for you. Mr. Bryant?
Well, how's the experiment going?
Well, you ought to know you came in here without opening the door.
How's the experiment going?
Wipe the grin off your face and pay attention to Detective Pipe. Shoot.
Black.
White.
Moon.
You.
Lake.
Canoe.
Hand.
Kiss.
Knife.
Cut.
Book.
Mystery.
Table.
Chair.
Kill.
Klenner. You see, Detective, I'm being completely honest. I could fake it, but that is the word that came into my mind.
Yeah, I see. I'm beginning to see a lot of things. Go ahead.
All right, candle.
Light.
Cleaner.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I draw a blank on that.
Okay, that's enough on you. Elaine, would you come in?
Now, Miss Martin, I'm going to...
That's all right. I'm familiar with how an association test works.
Great. Let's start then. Black.
Cat,
Moon.
sky,
Lake.
swimming,
Hand.
foot,
Knife.
stab,
Book.
school,
Table.
chair,
Kill.
murder, oh dear,
Cleaner.
dead.
Okay, that's it. Just one more to go. Professor Riggins?
Getting any results?
Never mind the chatter, just get down to business.
All right, black.
White.
Moon.
Light.
Lake.
Water.
Hand.
Foot.
Knife.
Fork.
Book.
Right.
Table.
Chair.
Kill.
War.
Candle.
Light.
Cleaner.
Professor.
Okay, that's enough. I think I know what I want to know now.
Well, who's the murderer?
One of those two, Dalton or Bryant, maybe both. I haven't got it figured out yet. They stumbled and fell all over themselves when it came to words like knife, kill, cleaner.
But so did Elaine, and she has an alibi.
Riggins here was the only one who went through smooth.
That's just it, Detective, don't you see? It shouldn't have been smooth, not in a situation like this. Brian and Lane were being honest when they hesitated on those words. Professor Riggins is the only one who's trying to hide the truth.
Nah, come on, Dalton. And you, Bryant, I'm taking you in for the murder of Professor Moberly Clenner.
I didn't, I tell you, I didn't.
You're a fool, Detective.
I've heard enough fancy talk around here. Let's get going.
Jack, you've got it all wrong. Listen to me.
I wasn't born yesterday. I can draw my own conclusion.
Do you mind if I go now, Detective? My wife will be beginning to worry.
Okay, Professor, I won't be needing you anymore.
Wait a minute, Detective. I know the answer, the whole answer.
So do I.
No, don't you see? Hypnotism.
Hypnotism?
That man outside, he's not a dementia praecox. He's been hypnotized.
Yes, I know how this works. Professor Riggins is the only one who didn't show any signs of hesitation during the test. Am I right, Detective?
Well, yes.
That's right. How come you stayed so calm?
What kind of nonsense is this?
Come back from that door, Riggins. I'm suddenly interested again. You planted that man, either to murder Clenner or to cover yourself while you murdered Clenner by drawing suspicion away. You hypnotized that man and told him to come here.
And, of course, he opened the window to let him in downstairs. He knew that Clenner always went up to his office for a rest after class. He knew there would be lots of people around. And he knew if there were a stranger
All right,
around...
don't move, anybody. I'll shoot the first one who makes a move.
Oh, drop the gun, Professor. Drop it. Pronto, I've got you covered. Hi-ya!
Good work, Penny. Did you really think you'd get away with it, Professor?
Oh, Brian, it's all so terrible.
It's all right, darling. Everything's all right now.
Well, Riggins, this is one time the amateur flunked the professional. Take him away, men.
This isn't the end. I'm not finished yet. You'll see.
That's what they all say. On your way.
Exit Professor Riggins. I can hardly believe it.
Thanks, everyone, for your cooperation. And when you guys start making out those wedding invites, stay in touch. Well, Penny, I knew it was him all the time, but thanks for helping me make sure.
Sure, Jack. You've always known we make a good team. So I guess this wraps up the final chapter of the Fatal Analysis.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fatal Analysis was written by Carolee Gray and Karen Spiegler, and it starred from the Conklin players Carolee Gray, Tom Weber, Nick Ferrantello, Karen Spiegler, Maury Douglas, and Jim Stout, plus WJBC's Ken Behrens. Thanks to you, our audience here at Eastland Mall, and thanks to all of you at home. If you correctly accused the murderer of Professor Clenner in our contest, Professor Riggins, you are eligible for the drawings for many fine prizes which will follow, and the winners will be announced on WJBC yet tonight and again tomorrow morning. Our engineers tonight were Larry Scholl and Ron Schott. This is Alan Sender speaking for the entire troupe here at Eastland Mall, saying good night.